close that door maybe.
Well, it has to stay open, this
Well,
public.
this one,
Yeah.
All right, it's 4 o'clock. I'll call this open meeting in session, special assessment district for Goguac Lake Association or Goguac Lake Board, 23 to 28 assessment. Is there any public comment?
I do have some correspondence.
You want to share that?
Sure, this is from, it's 5 forms from the Deets, the Culps, the Padjacks, Blankenships, and Shies, or Shiley, I'm sorry. And they all wrote the same form, so I'm just gonna read the one, but it was to who it may concern. We are writing you to request the removal of the property listed below from the back lot category special assessment for weed control charged to the residents of Goguac Lake. Those names I mentioned. And they live over on the lakefront drive area. This property listed above has been categorized as backlot for many years in the special weed assessment for Goguac Lake residents. We are also part of a group of 5 households who have, as a group, acquired and paid taxes on the remaining portion of the Park Binder Beach Reserve that is located in front of the above listed property and is also the actual shoreline that is in the full assess category. This beach reserve will soon be split into 5 separate deeded lots with each full assess for weed control. So the back lot category no longer applies to the parcel listed above. Request removal of the above parcels from the back lot category. This will help us move forward with property division and resolve double billing so to speak. We appreciate your attention to this request in lieu of the upcoming Goguac Lake Improvement Board meeting, 9/28/22.
So Mark and I and Kurt and maybe Nelson have all had conversations with Sue Blankenship. Right, Kurt? So
Yes.
Yeah. So to make sure I understand it, it sounds like it's an assessor question. I mean, I think we're familiar with the property. So they've all taken an equal share of what was formerly a lakefront parcel. And then they're going to collect, the idea is that they collectively share that parcel.
Yes,
Is that
the strip is right. It's under 5 ownerships, 5 individual names along the lake. So they have that. And yes, at some point in the past,
Deeded back.
the deeded backlots, they had petitioned to be added to the special assessment as lake access. This was probably more than 10 years ago, I'm guessing. So the individual houses, there's 4 houses. One of the 5 houses actually does have lake frontage by itself. So that would not be eligible to be excluded. The other 4 houses do not have any lake frontage whatsoever. It's questionable on whether the lake access, but they do all 5 individually own a parcel that has frontage on the lake, the beach parcel as they call it, that they're in the process of trying to split. So the question is whether it is still felt that they have lake access, should be the role should remain as is, those 4 parcels removed, just zeroed out for this year, or the 4 parcels removed and the benefit reallocated accordingly.
That's what I think she's asking for. That's say the group collectively, but Sue Blankenship's the one I've talked to most about it. I think their point now is that they would be getting a full assessment.
Correct.
Allocated amongst the 5 and then the deeded back lot. They're saying that's the dual taxation, if you will.
Yes.
Well, Andrew, isn't this really your decision?
I mean, it's really, however, if they can prove, if the board says that they no longer qualify as lake access, that's fine. As looking at the role, it's hard pressed to look at properties that maybe have a parcel in the front let's say they have a 50 by 100 foot vacant land in the front and a house behind. And as the case may be, the vacant land has been assessed a lake frontage, while the back house hasn't been assessed anything.
Yeah.
And if I have to ask and interject my personal opinion, I would think that being that it's under common ownership, that parcel in the front does have some lake access benefit. Otherwise, the front access.
I think her point is that one or the other. right?
Correct.
Yeah, just,
Right.
it's, yeah, either take one full assessment and allocate it amongst the 5,
Right,
or, well, you said the one's excluded anyway, but amongst the 4,
correct.
or don't charge for the full on the, undivided interest in the front lot.
Correct.
So I don't think we have anything else like that, and I would agree with Mark that that's kind of a assessor's role in interpreting.
If they-
What is
Sure.
the different, the different categories, is it a back lot, is it a front, and I don't think our intent was ever, or the statute's intent was ever, past Nelson, that we would ever have, if a person owned multiple parcels, they would pay multiple assessments. But this is a little different in that it's a collective.
It's a
I don't know.
collective, yeah.
Nelson, do you have an opinion?
Oh, my father-in-law always used to say that if I didn't know the answer, I would always have an opinion. He's been dead a while, but he was correct then and he's correct now. So I guess I'm a little bit confused. The so-called backlots, we're getting a backlot assessment historically. And a backlot has to have some access to the lake. For example, over on another part of the lake, the
Yep.
Welsh subdivision, where there is a designated.
Designated,
Yeah.
right.
And I just don't know whether, what was the backlot's access to the lake?
I have found no record on how they were granted access to the lake.
So I'm,
Were they accessing it through this now shared lot?
They didn't own the shared lot before.
Right, but were they accessing it through there?
Prior to them, I mean, I don't see that they're accessing it through. I mean, if that now they are, but prior to them being added to prior to their acquisition of that beach lot, they were listed as lake access.
so was that beach lot, the North Shore of Goguac Lake has been among the best things that could ever happen to a real estate lawyer because it creates all sorts of questions. But there was a time along parts of the North Shore that there was a so-called Park Beadler, I think was part of the name. But there was some public areas. So whether it was a beach reserve or a place that was theoretically available to all of the owners in the plat, I don't know if those sorts of words might have applied to that area we're talking about. But to have these, if that's the case, do we know whether there was any court action taken to determine the ownership?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're close, put your point out right there, yep.
Yep, there you go.
Yep. So zoom out a little bit so you can, so
So the 5 houses, this one, 113, 114.
Yeah.
201, 115, and 116.
yeah.
I should probably share this on.
So
On the GIS.
Zoom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
well, do we have anything that suggests that there was any court action taken to determine ownership of this?
Yes, recently, within the last so many years, they had court ownership to get those 5. Let me bring up the.
So seeing the docks and the boats there's historically been docks and boats there.
Yeah.
Were they just using that site
Yes.
as access before they had ownership of it?
Well, and currently they're working through each 5 is gonna have a piece of that
Mhm.
beach, and at that point, they would get a full assessment.
Right.
Right.
But that hasn't happened, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, not yet. It's not happened yet.
We're
The
talking
court order
about-
was in 2012.
No. We're arguing over $140, for a front lot. 154 or something now.
Yeah, so as as you look at your individual benefits, it's 190, is your 8 lake access is a quarter of that, so you're only looking at 47.73 a person. When calculating this, if we want to just put this out, I had 3 scenarios. One out of scenario is nothing's done, leave it as is as printed. Second scenario, if you zero this out, the 4 units, the 4 sites that are as lake access now, you're looking at a net reduction of $190.92 per year, or $954.60 for the 5 years. If everything is the request is to revise the benefit factor to exclude those out so that they never would calculate again, it reduces it. The benefit for a full access goes from $190.93 to $191.46. So everybody's charge would go up a little bit proportionally on that. Ironically, by zeroing them out and getting everything, you get a little closer to your overall 69,500. You're only short by about 71 cents versus the prior of $2.37. So we're not talking about a lot when you go to that.
What do you recommend them do?
I would recommend zeroing them out completely and redoing the list with that, unless it would have to be republished or repurposed on that. At least this would be correct going forward at that point to split. If you choose just to zero out the 4 and continue with the benefit factor as has been presented to everybody as is, so they're not saying, hey, I got a bill for $191.46. I was told it was at the $190.93. That extra 53 cents I wouldn't think enrage people, but I just want to play safe on that if this is what was published originally. In that case, you're only looking at a reduction from the original proposal of the $191.
So Andrew, I just have one question though. So when those parcels do get split to
Yes,
5 different ways, or
your number of benefits for the overall lake would increase, right?
at
At that point in time, yes, because that'd be a physical split.
And that split has not happened yet.
It has-
It won't probably happen before the new calendar year.
No, there is nothing that has been applied for at this point in time. It would have to happen and be approved prior to December 31st of 2022 to go in for 2023. If split took place afterwards, I think you would reassess. I have to go back and see the records if you would just split the benefit that was being assessed for those 5 years, if you would actually reassess and benefit them the whole regular full rate.
Nelson, sounds like we've got a recommendation from the assessor. Do we need a motion and a?
Well, you shouldn't do the motion during the public hearing in any event.
Gotcha.
And once we're done with the public hearing, you could take this matter up and somebody make a motion.
Yep.
To do one or the other, or maybe it was 3 different things. I will
Right.
confess to have lost a little bit of where the rubber shell is, where repeated than the walnut shells, but if I understand right now, this piece is not being assessed.
It is being
Is
assessed,
it? And we got 4 behind it.
correct,
And they're asking that it be only this and none of that,
correct.
so to speak. But right now, there's no subdivision of this piece.
Correct,
There might be next year,
Right.
correct.
or effective next year.
Could be.
Yeah, might be, yeah.
It might not be until 2024 or 2025 as well.
So at that point, wouldn't each of the 4 be assessed a full?
Yes. Well, that would be my question, and I'd have to research how this was done in the past. Did they reassess then as a full, and then that instance collect more than originally, or did they just take and prorate that
Yeah, I
estimated
I don't know that we've
capture?
had a classification
don't think
change.
this has ever come up before.
Yeah,
Not this one, anyway.
typically you don't,
In all the lake boards, we are unique or
right,
mostly unique with having these different tiers, right?
right.
Everybody else
Usually does it based on frontage.
frontage, or they
Correct.
just say benefit, so everybody's assessed the same.
Exactly.
All right.
Andrew, do they know what your recommendation is?
No, because these are the facts that's added, I leave it to the board to make the final approval of the roll, and here's the 3 options.
Okay.
So I can see that there is no lake access now with that. I don't know the historic reason why. If I was reviewing the map as an assessor, looking at that without knowing that they have a deeded lake access or deeded through a certain means, I would treat that as a no frontage parcel.
Yeah, because they don't technically have access.
Right.
But you weren't finding anything in the records for this, just the deeded access.
No,
But it's always been that way from first time this board. This is our fourth or fifth. set of
as what
assessments.
I'm hearing is historically, the owners petitioned, and this is from secondhand from Ms. Blankenship, that they petitioned to be added to the assessment roll many years ago.
I don't recall that, but it might have happened.
I don't remember that, do you?
I'm sure that the assessor would have had to pass it on to us.
Yeah. So they wanted to be, okay,
Yeah, because if it wasn't acted on, they could appeal it.
yeah.
I assume these people all get along.
I've only ever spoken to Sue Blankenship of that group, and she's kind of spoken for the group, whether that's appropriate, but that's been the context of my conversation.
Is Howard King one of the owners?
Oh,
It
that's
used
a
to
good
be.
question, maybe, I don't know where he's from, I don't think
No,
so.
he's
No,
over,
I read you the names of the.
he's over on the other, I know which.
Yeah, we had the names there.
Do you represent him?
But I.
So we can discuss once the public meeting is closed. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I ask we close the public hearing.
There weren't any other written communications besides these?
That's all they have.
Is there anybody online at all? No.
You can't communicate there, if this is just for viewing, there's no
Oh,
communication with the public.
Patty, is the 4 o'clock meeting now adjourned?
Yes, it is. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep, I'll go off of you.